Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to unlock what we're calling the job hunt playbook. If you've ever found yourself wondering how to actually translate all those academic skills you've spent years grinding away at into real-world employability, well, you are definitely in the right place. Think of this explainer as your chronological survival guide. We're going to take the core syllabus of employability skills and break the whole shebang down into actionable, easy-to-follow steps so you can completely master the journey from that initial application all the way to signing the job offer. So, here is the agenda for our playbook today. 1. Mastering professional business writing. 2. Conquering verbal aptitude tests. 3. Navigating group discussions successfully. 4. Acing your personal interviews. And 5. The power of ethical communication. All right, Section 1. Mastering professional business writing. Building your first impression. Now, this is the foundational phase of your entire job hunt. Documents like your resume and cover letters, they are definitely not just bureaucratic paperwork. Honestly, they are your absolute critical first impression to an employer who has literally never met you. To build that impression effectively, there are a few essential types of business correspondence you really need to master. You've got to know how to format a compelling job application letter, just to get your foot in the door, a proper joining letter for when you enthusiastically accept a role, and yeah, even a resignation letter for when it's eventually time to move on professionally. And of course, mastering resume writing, like specifically positioning yourself as, say, a fresh graduate trainee for a particular post. Nailing these documents helps you convey vital info and build strong professional relationships from day one. Moving on, let's zoom in on one of the most crucial pieces of writing you'll ever do, the statement of purpose or letter of intent. We really need to reframe how we look at the SOP. It is not just some mundane academic requirement to check off a list. It is a highly targeted, customized tool. Whether your specific goal is a professional application or maybe you're doing a practical activity like preparing an SOP for the admission procedure in a reputed university, this document is where you craft a crystal clear, concise, and incredibly compelling narrative about your actual purpose. So how do we actually go about writing one that works? Well, it breaks down into a pretty logical, chronological flow. Step 1 is establishing your exact purpose right out of the gate. Step 2 is making sure you include all the necessary elements that really highlight your specific background. Step 3 is organizing the structure logically so the whole thing just flows beautifully for the reader. And step 4 is applying tips for effective and, this is huge, ethical writing. You want a document that is incredibly compelling, sure, but it absolutely must be fully grounded in truth. Okay, Section 2, Conquering Verbal Aptitude Tests. Passing the initial screen. One of the biggest takeaways I want you to grab here is that exhibiting a calm demeanor during these tests is just as essential for your professional growth as actually knowing the right answers. You are very likely going to face verbal aptitude and comprehension tests that are modeled on rigorous global standards, things like the CAT, GRE, GMAT, or IELTS. By practicing with mock tests based on these exact formats, you aren't just, memorizing random vocabulary. You are dramatically sharpening your logical analysis and your problem-solving skills. Being able to comprehend complex instructions under a strict time limit is exactly what proves to an employer that you can handle a high-pressure industry environment. Right. Section 3. Navigating group discussions successfully. The group trial.
This stage is so critical. You have to remember, you need to position these discussions not as some wild shouting match to see who can be the loudest in the room, but as a real test of collaborative leadership and professional etiquette. What's really interesting here is how we can break down the specific parameters of evaluation you might face, because not all group discussions, or GDs, are the same. You have the traditional, open topic-based discussion where you're formulating arguments completely on the fly. Then there's case-based, which actually tests your ability to solve a specific practical scenario working as a team. And finally, role plays, where you have to act out assigned perspectives. Each type demands a slightly different approach, but they all evaluate your ability to jump in and constructively participate. Now, if you really want to ace this, I've got an incredible self-learning activity for you. Don't just read about GDs, actually watch them. Go online and pull up recordings of professional interviews and group discussions. You want to look for top-tier examples, like civil service interviews, IIM, or UPSC GDs. Just observing how these professionals pace themselves, how they interject politely without interrupting, and how they actively drive the conversation forward is, honestly, the most effective preparation you can do for your own mock interviews. That brings us to Section 4, Acing Your Personal Interviews, the final climax. Think of this as the final boss stage.
This is where all your preparation and your professional demeanor are put to the ultimate test, right in front of the decision makers. And this brilliantly illustrates the mental shift you need to make right at this moment. Just look at the comparison here. Group discussions are entirely focused on inclusivity and reaching a common goal of consensus, right? But the second you walk into a personal interview, that focus pivots entirely to individual problem solving and identifying your personal competence. You have to transition completely from a collaborative mindset to a deeply individual analytical mindset.
To demystify this final climax, let's quickly break down the types of personal interviews you might actually run into. In a structured interview, you can expect standardized questioning, straightforward. But imagine walking into a room and facing immediate, intentional, heavy pressure. That's a stress interview, and it's designed purely to test your reactions. Then you have behavioral interviews, where they use your past actions to predict your future performance. Problem-solving interviews test your logic on the spot, and case-based interviews test your ability to apply your skills to real-world scenarios. Knowing these primary focuses going in allows you to adapt your strategy the very second you sit down in that chair.
And of course, you've got to be totally adaptable to the actual mode of the interview as well, whether it's a traditional face-to-face one-to-one, sitting in front of a full face-to-face panel, taking a quick telephonic screening, or navigating a virtual video call. Your core competency and that calm demeanor we talked about must shine through regardless of the environment.
And finally, Section 5, the power of ethical communication, your secret weapon.
Look, degrees and test scores are fantastic, but your soft skills and your empathy, those are actually your strongest networking tools by a mile. Let's define this crucial concept. Ethical communication is the practice of treating all teammates with respect and dignity, listening attentively, and encouraging a diversity of ideas to reach a common goal. This takes what could be a dry learning objective and turns it into a clear, actionable mandate for inclusivity and openness in literally every interaction you have.
I really want to hammer this point home for a second. Respectful listening is just as important as speaking assertively. So many candidates fall into the trap of thinking they need to dominate a room to look like a strong leader. But mindfulness and empathetic listening, those are the qualities that truly differentiate a standout candidate from an average one.
So, applying this ethical code of conduct is a step-by-step process. Step 1, you've got to practice that empathetic listening, really hear people. Step 2, when you do speak, speak assertively, but always respectfully. Step 3, actively encourage a diversity of ideas from the individuals around you. Step 4, arrive at ethical decisions via consensus. By mastering these steps, particularly when you're in mock interviews or group discussions, you demonstrate the ability to navigate complex interactions and you showcase true, strong leadership skills.
Which leaves us with this final, really vital question to ponder as we wrap up. Your resume can definitely get you in the door, but is your empathy strong enough to actually get you the job? True employability relies just as much on ethical teamwork and respectful communication as it does on your logical aptitude. Keep that top of mind as you prep for your next big opportunity. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I really hope this playbook helps you absolutely master your job hunt.